You know, whenever you see a medical scan, like an X-ray or an MRI, have you ever just stopped and wondered how doctors can see everything inside us with such amazing clarity? It's like they have this special kind of vision. Well, it turns out the secret isn't a superpower, but it's just as fascinating, and that's what we're going to get into today.
Because honestly, without a little help, a standard X-ray of, say, your abdomen can look kinda, well, like a gray blur. A lot of our organs and soft tissues are made of pretty similar stuff, so to an X-ray machine, they all have about the same density. It's really like trying to photograph a polar bear in a blizzard. Everything just blends together.
So, to fix this, radiologists use this secret ingredient. It's a special substance that once it gets inside your body, it acts like a highlighter, making certain organs or blood vessels just pop right out from the background. The contrast becomes incredible, and this amazing stuff, it's called contrast media. So let's really dig into this core challenge. An X-ray machine shoots a beam through your body, and different things block, or as they say in the business, attenuate that beam differently. Bone is super dense, right? So it blocks a lot of the radiation and shows up as bright white. Air, on the other hand, is not dense at all, so it shows up black. The real problem is everything in between, all our soft tissues.
Just think about it for a second. Your stomach, your intestines, your kidneys, a lot of our most important organs have densities that are really close to water and really close to each other. Because of that, on a standard X-ray, there's almost zero natural contrast. It's nearly impossible to see where one organ stops and the next one starts. And if you're a doctor trying to find a problem, that's a huge issue.
And this right here is where contrast media just swoops in to save the day. It is such an elegant solution. It's designed to dramatically crank up the difference in how much X-ray an organ absorbs compared to the tissue right next to it. And just like that, the invisibility problem is solved.
To put it really simply, it's any substance that lets doctors see things that are normally hidden from view. I absolutely love this analogy. If all your internal organs are like a really dense page of text, contrast media is the highlighter pen that makes the most critical senses jump right off the page at you.
And it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. There are actually two main ways to get this effect. First, you've got negative contrast agents, things like air or carbon dioxide. They're actually less dense than our tissue, so they show up as black on a scan. And then you have the positive agents, like barium or iodine. These are much, much denser, so they block the X-rays and appear bright white. Each one has a very specific job to do.
All right, so let's start with the most common category, the contrast agents made specifically for X-ray and CT scans. For more than 100 years, these have been the absolute workhorses of the radiology department.
Now, the journey to find the right stuff was definitely a story of trial and error. The very first studies of the gut used a substance called bismuth, which, turned out to be toxic. By 1910, they found a much safer alternative, barium sulfate. But then, in the 1920s, there was this amazing discovery. It turns out sodium iodide, which at the time was being used to treat syphilis, was also opaque to X-rays. What a find! That completely paved the way for the iodine-based agents we still rely on so heavily today.
So what's this actually like if you're the patient? Well, a really common procedure is the barium swallow, and it's surprisingly simple. You drink this kind of chalky but often flavored liquid, about 1.5 cups of it, then you lie down on a special X-ray table. As the barium goes down, the radiologist is capturing images in real time, watching that bright white liquid perfectly coat and outline your entire esophagus. It's just a brilliant way to see its shape and how well it's working.
But hey, X-rays aren't the only game in town, right? What about MRI scans? Those use super powerful magnets, not radiation. Well, for those, you need a completely different kind of contrast agent that works on a totally different scientific principle. Okay, so here's the key difference. MRI contrast doesn't block anything. Instead, these agents are something called paramagnetic. They basically act like millions of tiny little magnets that go in and influence the hydrogen protons inside the water molecules all over your body. What they do is make those protons shout their location back to the MRI scanner way faster and louder, creating a signal that's much stronger and much brighter. The absolute star of the MRI world is a substance called gadolinium. Now get this, it's a wild fact. In its raw, free-floating form, gadolinium is actually a toxic heavy metal. So how in the world can we use it in people? Well, scientists came up with this brilliant process called chelation. They essentially trap the gadolinium ion inside a big organic molecule, like a cage. This cage makes it completely non-toxic and lets it travel through the body safely, doing its job of lighting up areas of interest on the scan. It's just incredible science.
Okay, of course, anytime you're talking about injecting something into the human body, the #1 question on everyone's mind is it safe? So let's talk about that. Let's get right into the risks and how doctors manage them.
So the first and most important thing to know is that with the agents we use today, the risk is incredibly low. For modern, standard iodinated contrast, the rate of any kind of adverse reaction is less than 1%. And even within that tiny fraction, the vast majority of reactions are really mild, like a quick feeling of warmth or a little bit of nausea that goes away all by itself.
And this amazing safety record is a direct result of scientific progress. You see, the older agents were ionic, and they had a really high concentration. Think of it like water that's way saltier than your blood, and that can be pretty jarring to the body. The modern agents we use now are non-ionic. Their concentration is much lower, much closer to our own blood, which makes them way easier for our bodies to handle. We're talking 5 to 10 times safer. That's a huge leap forward.
That being said, there are two significant, but I have to stress, very rare risks that doctors are always watching out for. The first is a potential, and usually temporary, effect on kidney function from iodinated contrast, but it's really only a concern for patients who already have kidney problems. The second is a rare disorder connected to gadolinium, and again, it's seen almost exclusively in patients who already have severe kidney disease. And because of very strict screening and guidelines, these conditions are exceedingly rare today.
So after going through all the science and the safety, what does this all boil down to? In the real world, why does any of this matter so much?
You know, this quote really nails it. The ability to use contrast has completely fundamentally transformed what doctors are capable of. It lets them characterize different types of tissue, find tumors much earlier, map out blood flow, and spot diseases in pretty much every part of the body, with a level of precision that was just pure science fiction not that long ago.
And really, this is the ultimate takeaway. These substances are unbelievably powerful tools for diagnosis. The information a doctor gets from a contrast-enhanced scan can literally be the difference between life and death, providing clear answers that lead to the right treatment faster. For the overwhelming majority of people, the massive diagnostic benefit is well worth the incredibly small risk.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, we've come all the way from using toxic powders to these highly targeted molecules that interact with our bodies on a magnetic level. So as our imaging tech gets even more sophisticated, what new invisible landscapes will the next generation of these secret ingredients finally reveal to us?